Hello Star Wars nerds, Gray Sky Bricks here, and today we're going to be talking about Star Wars and Disney's effect on Star Wars. Today we're going to be talking about what Disney did better and what Disney did worse. Spoiler alert, Disney did a lot of stuff worse. I want to start off by getting everything Disney did better out of the way since there are less, and the first thing I'm going to say is going to be that the cinematography and the choreography were great. I think that in the sequels, the cinematography was the best out of the originals and the prequels. And you might hate me for that. Overall, just the environment, the landscape, the different planets, the different biomes, like in Rise of Skywalker, no, I think it was The Last Jedi, that salt biome at the end, that was pretty freaking cool. Like, besides the bad acting, the cringe jokes, the cringe writing, the salt biome where like it almost looked like blood, where if you shot the surface, the salt would just explode. That looked pretty cool. I thought that was probably one of my favorite biomes I've ever seen in Star Wars. In Rise of Skywalker, where Rey fought Kylo Ren in the middle of the ocean, where there was just freaking water going up everywhere and they were on the ship in the middle, that was awesome. The different shots, the angles that they got, the lighting was really good. It's just, I think that was probably one of the biggest highlights overall for the sequels. Next up, I want to say that Kylo Ren and Snoke were really good characters. Kylo Ren, definitely in Force Awakens, was a really good character. I think they should have kept his mask on. That's just me. I love cool costumes. Costume design for Kylo Ren was great. It'd be awesome if he kept his mask on, but I'm not complaining. Overall, Kylo Ren was a very good character, but they also killed Snoke too easily. But there should have been a big final battle with Snoke. Okay, if Snoke was Kylo Ren's master, Kylo Ren should not have been able to kill Snoke that easily. I mean, it's just like, come on now. Overall, those are probably the most popular and the most standout good features that the sequels have. There's also one more thing too I forgot to cover, was that some of the jokes in Force Awakens actually made me laugh. They were funny. BB-8 was a funny droid. Not R2-D2 funny, but he was still a funny droid. So was Finn. Finn made some good jokes too. So did Han Solo, and so did Chewbacca. There was good jokes. I can't say the same for The Last Jedi or The Rise of Skywalker, but The Force Awakens still had some really good jokes that made me laugh out loud. Okay, I think that sums it up for the positives, and now we're going to get into the negatives. What did Disney do bad? Well, there's a whole bunch of stuff, so stick with me here. First thing I want to say Disney did bad was the time between the sequels and the originals. 29 years between the sequels and the originals was too much. All the characters are old, like outdated. Way too much happens between the sequels and the originals that we can't see. Like, what happened to Luke? Did Luke just vanish off into some island? Like, we don't know how he got there. We don't know why he got there. We don't know when he stopped becoming a Jedi. We don't know why he turned to that miserable little dirtbag that he did, when that's like not who he was at all in the originals. We don't know. There's too much questions. The sequels felt like more of a spin-off than sequels, in my opinion, because all of the original characters that you had in the sequels, they either died off like pretty early in the sequels, or they just didn't show up and whoa, what happened to them? We don't know. Most of the characters that were in the originals tied back to the prequels in some sort of way. I guess you could say Rey is a Skywalker, so that kind of turns back to the originals, but no, it's not. The sequels should have been more tied together with the originals. Next up, I want to say this is probably what made the sequels the most unenjoyable, was the writing. The writing was so bad. I cannot exaggerate this anymore. The writing was just so bad. Like, I was hiding behind my pillow. I said this in my Star Wars tier list video, probably in the top left corner somewhere, but the writing, the jokes, okay, so like I said, the jokes in Force Awakens weren't bad. The jokes in Force Awakens were pretty good. But the jokes in Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker, oh no. Dude, they just tried way too hard to be funny. I think that Star Wars, the sequels, lacked that grit, that darkness that the prequels had. Prequels still had some funny things, like Jar Jar Binks, he was funny, but it also had that dark side sense of Darth Vader and stuff like that, and I think that the sequels lacked that a lot. They tried way too hard to be funny, and I did not like it. It was so cringe. All of the jokes past Force Awakens were cringe. So was the action writing, like when Rey is you know what? I'll just play the clip right now.
I am all the Sith.
And I am all the Jedi.
Like, Rey, you are not all the Jedi, bro. I hate to break it to you, but you are not all the Jedi. It is just horrific. The whole thing is just horrific. I don't like it. I don't like the writing, okay? The writing was so bad. That kind of ties into the story. The story was very dry. The characters were very dry. And I don't mean to get sexist here, but there's a point where you could tell that they made the main character a woman just because she's a woman. Rey becomes a Jedi way too fast. Literally, she just finds out that she's a little bit force sensitive. Okay, whatever. Then all of a sudden, without any training, without anything at all, she could do force mind control. That makes no sense. I don't like that. Like, she's just all of the sudden just, you will let me free. You will put down your blaster. Get me out of here. You suck. Get on your knees. Lick my feet. Like, it's just, like, it's no training whatsoever. And that's probably the majority of it too, is that Finn could just pick up a lightsaber and all of a sudden wield it and face a duel with Kylo Ren when he's never touched anything like that in his life. Luke gets butchered as a character. Luke literally just becomes the epitome of a dirtbag on an island in the middle of nowhere, which was nothing like his personality or what he was like in the originals. He dies in the worst way possible. I think a better way for Luke to have died is Kylo Ren killed him, but instead he uses the Force for too long and overdoses on the Force, which just doesn't really make sense in my opinion. There's just so much problems with the sequels. I could sit through all 6 movies of the Lucasfilm productions, like all of the originals and all of the prequels, but I could not sit through even just 3 of the sequels. And they brought Palpatine back. Palpatine wasn't supposed to come back at all. It made no sense. Snoke should have been the one that came back because that would make more sense, and he was a sequel character. And it makes sense because they shouldn't have been able to kill Snoke that easily. So it's like, oh my gosh, they killed Snoke that easily? And then nope, Snoke's still alive. Snoke comes back. I mean, besides The Rise of Skywalker, I still find The Last Jedi and Force Awakens were pretty good movies. I think it's hard to compare them to the masterpieces that were the originals and the prequels. And I think no matter what, they would have never been as good as the originals and the prequels, because when you sell something to a different corporation, production studio, whatever, they're obviously not going to make it like how the older ones were, because they're a whole different company. They're a whole different corporation and whatever. Like, they're not going to make it with George Lucas's style. But I think that is still not an excuse for how horrendously bad and not like Star Wars sequels were. They could have been better. They should have been better. They should have put more effort into it. But I do think Rogue One was a really good movie. I do think The Mandalorian was a really good show. I do think Disney made some good shows. That's going to wrap it up for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Sorry this one came out a little late. Subscribe, join my Discord if you like talking about anything Star Wars and Legos, because we're just a bunch of nerds over there. But yeah, that is it. See you guys later. Adios.